a video on using some things up that I've been having a faff around with. So I wanted to see if I could thicken up some yogurt using milk powder. I'd heard that it works, it, and so I wanted to have a go. What I normally do is I normally strain my homemade yogurt through a cheesecloth, and then that removes excess whey, and then you get a thicker yogurt. So I've got some. So this is homemade yogurt, and it's quite thick. So it gets that thick through straining the whey out of it. But I kind of thought it'd be kind of quite interesting to use milk powder instead as an interesting experiment. Doesn't really work as such. It does thicken it up because adding a dried product to a wet product is always going to thicken it up slightly, because the wet product is going to give some of the dry product is going to suck some of the wet product out of the wet product and become a little bit thicker. But the only problem is that it ends up tasting of powdered milk. It's alright, it's powdered milk, but it's got a certain taste to it. But kind of quite interesting. I suppose instead of using powdered milk, you could use like a Horlicks drink, or that like a malted milk kind of drink. So a bit interesting, but didn't kind of really work. I'll let that spoon and get one more. So I've ended up with some bought yogurt which I have strained. Oh yeah, and if we could have thickened up the yogurt, then what could we have done with it, type of thing. But the video was going to be too long, so this is the video where we're actually going to do something with the strained yogurt. So I kind of thought what we'll do is we'll make a Semifreddo. So this is the strained yogurt that I've extracted excess whey out of, and there's also some milk powder in there as well, so it's got a little bit of a milk kind of powder kind of flavour to it. And then this is, I bought some ricotta and some mascarpone from Lidl, that's where they're from, and I kind of wanted to do a bit of a comparison. So I'll work out how much strained yogurt you get to a kind of consistency of mascarpone and ricotta. This is mascarpone and ricotta. We'll use that up. So we're going to do two. We're going to make two Semifreddos. That's what I decided we were going to do, and we'll use a few things up. So let's give this. You see, it's nice and thick now. That's lovely and thick, isn't it? It's almost like a kind of cream cheese kind of texture. So how does that taste? There is about 525 grams of yogurt in there. That's nice of that. That's nice of that. And you wouldn't know that was yogurt because it's kind of lost that acidic edge to it. This has got a little bit of that yogurt in. I just wanted to make an equal amount. So what we're going to do is, if I remember rightly, so we're going to do it two ways. We'll do a version of the Semifreddo with ricotta and mascarpone. You're supposed to really just use mascarpone or ricotta, but we've got a mixture. And I'll do a version of that, and to see what the comparison is like between them both, and also we can kind of put a cost to it. So is it actually worth buying some thick Greek yogurt, straining the excess whey out of it, and then using that actually instead of mascarpone and ricotta? So actually, let's pause, and I'll go and find the bill that tells me how much the yogurt and the ricotta and the mascarpone was. Right, yeah, so this is going to be cheaper. So, a kilo of Greek yogurt is £1.65. 250 grams worth of ricotta is £2.29, and 250 grams worth of mascarpone is £1. Did I say that right? £1. Each of those is £1.29. If I said £2.29, each of those is £1.29. So, and once we strain the whey out of the yogurt, we get down to about 600 grams. So it's actually, if this works out, it will be cheaper to by about pound and a bit to make it with strained Greek yogurt. So my recipe is about, I'll look at my old recipe, and it's, well, we haven't got exactly everything we need, so we're going to improvise as always. So we've got it for about 500 grams worth of either yogurt or ricotta or mascarpone. We want about 600 grams worth of double cream, which we're going to whip up, but I haven't got just enough double cream, so we've got some single cream, but that will whip up enough. Those all whip, as long as we whip up the double cream first and then we add the single cream to it and then carry on whipping it, it will whip up enough to a firm enough peak. So there'll be a little bit more cream in than we actually need, that'll be fine. And then it's 8 eggs per recipe, so for every about 500 grams worth, for example, for every 500 grams worth of ricotta, you want about 600 grams worth of double cream, and you want about 8 eggs, which are separated into white and yolks. We want to whisk up the whites with some sugar and the yolks with some sugar, and then we're going to combine everything together. I'll do it once, you don't need to see me doing both, and then we'll freeze. Oh, and I've got some homemade glassy cherries, so I kind of thought it'd be nice to chop up these marinated cherries, which I've just strained the juice out of. Just be nice to chop up those and just to kind of fold them through the mixture as well. So I'll do some whisking and then we'll do some combining, and then we'll make some semifreddo, and then we'll see what it's like. Is this video long? 6 minutes, that's not bad. That's not so bad. Yes, I should stop talking, shouldn't I? Let's see if we can do this in relatively real time. So I've just put the hand mixer through the yogurt mixture just to make it easier to combine things in, and then this is, I need half this mixture. This is the eggs and some of the sugar mixed up. So for one recipe it's 8 eggs, I want 200 grams worth of sugar. I'll split that sugar in half, so 100 grams worth of sugar got whisked up into the yolks and 100 grams worth of sugar got whisked, what kind of word is that? Whisked up into the egg whites. So I want half of that into there because that's double the quantity. So it was about 400 grams when I weighed it. So if we just have to do this off camera because the scales won't balance on the board because it's a little bit too wonky. So about 200 grams worth of that. Now we're trying to keep the air in everything, so we just have to be careful which kind of order we put things in. So we'll whisk this into here and that'll combine them. Right, so that will make folding other things into that a little bit easier. So now we've got half the cream, so it's not super solid, but we don't want it super solid. That looks about half the cream-ish. I suppose we could weigh it, but too late now. Fold this in, making sure we get all around the sides. It's not 100% mixed in, it doesn't really matter. You know, I'm not going to be too annoyed with myself. So then, now that's kind of quite a loose mixture, we can fold in the egg whites, which have been whisked up. So semifreddo is basically an ice cream. It's not churned. It's all kind of the same kind of ingredients, but we're incorporating air, not through a using a ice cream maker. We're incorporating air through the air that's going to be whisked into the egg whites and the egg yolks and the cream, so it will have a better kind of consistency because of that. And you serve it put it in like terrine molds. So like a square block, so, and then you slice the square, like a terrine, like a pate. You know, that's kind of how you serve a Semifreddo with plain things on it. So that's all combined. Let's give it a taste. Nice, nice. And then what we're going to do is we're going to take half these cherries. So what's half? So they kind of go, that's about half these cherries, and I've chopped them up slightly. I've chopped them in half-ish. So half these cherries will go in here, and then I think we're going to freeze it in that tub that we had the egg whites in. I think. So just combine like that. Not going to be loads of cherries in it. It'll be enough for a little bit of a treat. Probably could have done with a lot more cherries in that, but I'm not that bothered. But what we can do is we can put some of the syrup in. So we'll freeze it in this container. Cut down the washing up, won't it? So there's a little bit of egg white around the outside, but I'm not 100% bothered about that. So any cherries that drop at the bottom, I'll give it a mix up on the container. And then it's a simple case of doing the same with the other mixture, and then freezing them overnight, and then cutting into them tomorrow. So, because I was a bit mean on the cherries, what we'll do is we don't want to move this around move it around as little as possible. What we will do, shouldn't bang either, that bangs the air bubbles out. We will take some of the syrup, and we'll do it a bit like a raspberry ripple. So we'll pour the syrup into like that, and then see if we can get some kind of ripple effect going through it. So little sweeten it up as well. How's that taste? That's lovely. That's lovely, is that? Right, so lid on. That's okay, I'll remember which one's which. So lid on, into the freezer, and we'll see what it's like tomorrow. Right, they are frozen, and I've taken them out of the containers just by dropping the container in a little bit of warmer water just to melt the outside, and then we can have a look at them. It looks like the cherries have sunken to the bottom, because that's obviously, that was the bottom, but I've turned it out, so that's now the top, which I'm not that bothered about, because it just there's an even distribution of cherries, so that's okay. That's the yogurt one, that's the mascarpone and ricotta one, so it probably needs a little bit of time, just to 5 minutes or so, just to stop it from being too hard. Yeah, let's give it 5 minutes just for let it to soften slightly. Otherwise I'm going to injure myself slightly. I don't know. No, well, let's give it a few minutes just to soften. It won't take much. Let's just taste the outside. That's delicious if you get a cherry. Do you know it works? It works. Using the strained yogurt instead of ricotta or mascarpone, it works. You know, that's really nice. Yeah, I'll just have to find a use for that. And I quite like that the cherry juice has done that. But we'll give it a few minutes, then we'll cut into it and then we can have a look. But it tastes good and doesn't save us a whole lot of money. But we can use strained yogurt instead of mascarpone or ricotta. So you can't always get everything that you want. You can't always get ricotta, you can't always get mascarpone, but you might be able to get thick Greek yogurt, and you can strain it, sweeten it up a little bit, and certainly in this can use it as a substitute. You couldn't call it, you'd have to call it frozen yogurt Semifreddo, but there's frozen yogurt ice cream, isn't there? But anyway, so a success. We'll just wait to cut into them. Took a while to cut into it. Had to be very careful. So maybe slimmer containers than that in future, but let's just have a look at it. Probably could do with more cherries in and more syrup, but I kind of think, you know, I go on the idea that you should always leave people wanting a little bit more. So yeah, it certainly needs more syrup in it, and it certainly needs more cherries. Probably the amount of cherries that I put in two should have just gone in one, and the same amount of syrup. So what size jar is? So I've got some more cherries. So that was one jar of cherries. I think that's about 600 grams. Let's just weigh that. I've got a jar now. Yes, I've got a jar. Let's just weigh how much that jar is. No, about 900 grams worth of cherries there. So 900 grams of cherries and syrup per mixture. So for 500 grams worth of mascarpone or ricotta or strained yogurt. But it's alright, you know, it'll do as a cheap dessert. I do plenty of functions where people want a cheap meal, so that could certainly be used at one of those functions, or you just give it away free. But it tastes nice. And it works. It's delicious, actually, and it works. So we can use yogurt as a substitute. We can. It's not a substitute. It's a frozen yogurt semifreddo. But there we go. Success.